Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to get your attention, I'd like you to know that on my Facebook page, there were a lot of people that said, why are you bothering to spend time passing these kinds of bills? So let me tell you what the bill is, and then let me tell you why it's so important. House Bill 3041 is a bill that exempts non-prescription sunscreen from the definition of medication in Oregon schools statute and allows school districts the flexibility to adopt guidelines outlining how to manage sunscreen at school, the type of clothing permitted, and protects school personnel from liability relating to the application of sunscreen by students. The bill does not require students to use sunscreen or require schools to provide it. The bill simply allows parents and children in Oregon to protect themselves from overexposure to UV rays with sunscreen and sun protective clothing during school hours and at school activities, should they choose to do so. House Bill 3041 will remove unnecessary barriers for Oregon's children to access and use sun protection while at school. By allowing sunscreen in schools, we give parents the freedom to protect their children from sunburns. We give schools clear instructions on how to handle sunscreen and hopefully prevent melanoma in Oregon. So you might think, why are we even bothering doing this? Really? Schools are not allowing sunscreen to be used? Well, that's true, because it's an FDA-approved substance, and so schools were not sure if kids were allowed to use it. So I just want to say this bill is really important to me personally. My mother died of skin cancer. My brother and sister have had melanoma. I've had squamous cell cancer myself. And it's one of the really unknown facts that Oregon, you'd think of it as a rainy place, actually has the 5th highest incidence of melanoma and the 4th highest death rate from melanoma in the country. And yet many Oregonians are not aware of this danger or the danger for their children. Childhood overexposure to ultraviolet radiation is a leading cause of skin cancer. Up to 40% of an individual's lifetime UV exposure actually happens by age 20. Young people spend a substantial amount of time of their lives in schools, and a lot of that is spent outside. Actually, more of it should be spent outside in the sunny hours of the day. Just one blistering sunburn during childhood doubles a person's lifetime risk of developing melanoma. This is especially troublesome because skin cancer is one of the deadliest forms of cancer in the U.S., and yet it is also one of the most preventable. I want to really thank OHSU for taking this on. The Knight Cancer Center brought us a bill last year that prohibited the use of suntanning booths by minors, and they brought this bill to us again. They worked with a lot of partners. They brought some very, very compelling testimony that my colleague from the House Healthcare Committee will address, and our committee passed this unanimously. It may seem frivolous to people on Facebook, but when you hear the compelling testimony and you see the statistics, you realize how important this little measure is. So I urge and I vote.